Hi, this is John Harcher, and welcome to episode 9 of Left Turn at Albuquerque. We'll be doing Disc 2 of Platinum Collection Volume 3. We'll start off with a lot of Daffy, some Porky, more Tweety and Sylvester, and the other series stars, plus various oddities as well.
I knew I should have made a left turn at Albuquerque. I knew I should have taken that left turn at Albuquerque. I knew I should have taken that left turn at Albuquerque. I should have turned left at Albuquerque.
Before we get into Disc 2, a couple of updates. Remember I mentioned Mouse on 57th Street was on something called Warner Brothers Ride? Well, viewer MTAF Official chimed in that it was some kind of app for your car, and they had all kind of programming on it, including some Looney Tunes. I think I saw another cartoon that was on there. I just can't remember the name of it. The service ended in 2023, so thanks for the info. Also, speaking of Warner Bros. Discovery, in this case just Discovery, on the subscription Discovery Family channel, they're running Looney Tunes Monday through Friday, 1 to 1:30 p.m. I took a look at what they're running on the DirecTV guide, and it looked like kind of a wide variety of stuff. They had, from the days that I looked at, they had like 2 from pre-47, 48, but some black and white, so it's not just the old AAP catalog, plus like 1 from the 50s. So, and they're kind of random, so it's not the same things that you can see on Boomerang, or like what they're running on Tune In With Me, or on Saturday mornings for the Bugs Bunny show. So if you have that, that's another option to watch some more Looney Tunes. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get right back into it. Disc 2 starts off with the Daffy-centric tunes and 4 in a row by Frank Tashlin. The first one is 1943's Porky Pig's Feet from Golden Collection Volume 3, written by Melvin Miller. One of the final black and white Looney Tunes has Porky and Daffy trying to get out of a hotel without paying the bill. A Key Warner's tune that has the only black and white appearance of Bugs Bunny.
Don't work, do they?
That was also the first time they used Raymond Scott's Powerhouse. Since this was among the last of the black and white Looney Tunes, it looked pretty good to start with, from a black and white point of view. The Blu-ray version gives us the brightest, shiniest version we can possibly get. A few cell flaws here and there, but nothing major. It probably would have been shown more had it been in color. They did colorize it at one point. Noted Looney Tunes fan, director Joe Dante, does the commentary. Next is Scrap Happy Daffy, also from 1943, originally released on Golden Collection Volume 5. This Tashlin was released just after the last one, but was written by Don Christensen. Daffy gathers scrap metal for the war effort, attracting the attention of the Germans. Done in a style that would presage the UPA era in the 50s, even in black and white, but it also has nods to the Fleischers. It almost looks like someone today is going back and making what they think a black and white cartoon would look like. Overall, the 40s black and white cartoons have a different aesthetic compared to the ones from the 30s. This cartoon has a few more flaws on it, but again, very clean overall. When are we going to get that World War II collection, Warners? Greg Ford does the commentary for this and the next one as well. On that one is Plain Daffy from 1944, written by Warren Foster and from Golden Collection Volume 4. An absolute must-see classic that I just seen for the first time when Golden Collection Volume 4 came out. A World War II propaganda takeoff on the Dawn Patrol and Mata Hari, as well as a couple other risque sayings. The patrol needs to get a message through and sends woman-hating Daffy, who promptly falls like a chopped tree for the Nazi spy. But will he give up the secret info? It's a shame a lot of these World War II shorts remained out of rotation, hence out of sight, but that's another thing that can be remedied by these collections. Now this one you get back to color, and what colors! I mean, you can see the brush strokes on the hats, that's how clean the restoration is. There's one bad set of frames outside Hadamari's birdhouse, but otherwise this looks terrific. As we mentioned, this was sort of remade as Rebel Without Claws. That was on Collector's Choice Volume 2. Also from 1944 is The Stupid Cupid, also from Golden Collection Volume 4, and also written by Warren Foster. This one was pretty popular on both Channel 5 and TBS, but since it had that blue ribbon opening title card, we never knew who did them, which is part of the problem with many of these Tashlin cartoons. Now, Elmer plays Cupid prancing about the countryside, with Frank Graham doing the laughs instead of Arthur. And he decides to obsess on Daffy Duck. He's going to make sure he falls in love no matter what. Pretty streamlined at barely 6.5 minutes in comparison to the 8.5 minute plus epics in the black and white days. Now, the giant bow that sends the arrow into Daffy's butt is a great gag, and it's also one of the developmental tunes for Daffy's character. Restoration-wise, they left a lot of grain on this one, but it looks like one of those where you clean it up too much, it's going to look way different. The commentary track here is by Eddie Fitzgerald. Now, originally there was more to the end. As Daffy stuck in between the happy couple and getting kissed from both sides, Daffy basically says, "Don't knock it if you haven't tried it." But they thought that went just a little too far, so they cut it pretty abruptly. 1945's Draftee Daffy is next from Golden Collection Volume 3, directed by Bob Clampett, and written by Lou Lilly, and guess who? Warren Foster. It's more Clampett chaos as patriotic Daffy wants to do what he can to help the war effort. Everything except go to the front when a man from the draft board shows up. Will Daffy outsmart him?
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
This one's generally nice looking. The final scene in HE double hockey sticks looks pretty stunning. I think I remember this from Channel 5, but it was definitely on TBS. Eddie Fitzgerald does the commentary here too, this time joined by John Kay. Guess Callie couldn't make it this time. Also from 1945 is Nasty Quacks, an uncredited Frank Tashlin and a credited Warren Foster, him again, do this tale of Daffy being a pet and driving a father insane as his daughter keeps protecting him until another duck shows up. The father is an excellent slow burn foil, like an Edgar Kennedy or Jeffrey Tambor, that kind of guy. And then he goes as Daffy at the end. For some reason, I remember this one more on the Philly stations before it showed up on Cartoon Network quite a bit. This was on the Essential Daffy Duck collection, as well as his Superstars disc. The calendar as Daffy's growing up looks like a bunch of kids drew it. It's like, geez. Colors are a little dull, but it's not meant to be a bright, shiny cartoon anyway. Next is The Stupor Salesman from 1948, directed by Art Davis and written by his usual team of Bill Scott and Lloyd Turner. This was on Golden Collection Volume 5. A bank robber tries hiding out in the woods, but salesman Daffy has wares to sell and won't take no for an answer. The mountains look very nice, like the paintings that they are. Well, nice job. Daffy looks different in this one. One of those things I didn't notice before when I was watching it on TV. That said, I don't even remember it much. It might have been on TBS before the Cartoon Network days. I probably would have gone for the Super Snooper from 1952 by Bob McKimson instead of this one, but this one's not bad. We get a couple of Porkies next. Daniel Goldmark does commentaries for both. First is 1938's Holy Smoke from Golden Collection Volume 5. Frank Tashlin comes up with this cautionary tale of Porky trying to smoke a stogie and the delusionary world he inhabits after it. I think I remember seeing this one somewhere, but it might have been colorized. But this one is a nicely cleaned up black and white tune. There's also a very cool Fleischer-esque 3D type tracking shot in there. Looks cool. Now the writer here is George Manuel. He started at MGM, worked for Ub Iwerks for a little bit, did a lot of mid to late 30s work for Warner's before, speaking of the Fleischers, moving over to Paramount for a little while. He's got a bit of an interesting claim to fame. He's the writer on 3 of the tunes in the Censored 11. He just did his job, I guess. The other Porky is 1944's Swooner Crooner from Golden Collection Volume 3. All right, it's got a blue ribbon title card. You go to IMDb and you find out, guess who? Frank Tashlin and Warren Foster. They have Porky in charge of an egg farm when a Sinatra-esque skinny chicken sings his way into the hens' hearts, and they stop laying. So he has to get a Bing Crosby rooster to help out get the hens going again. Considering Sinatra was a regular-sized guy when I was growing up, I really didn't get this joke until I saw From Here to Eternity. Man, was he skinny. The opening shot is beautiful, then the sun comes up and all that cell debris. But in general, it's pretty good. There's a great little look into popular music at the time as Porky is auditioning singers to try to take the place of Skinny Frank. So it's interesting to try to pick these guys out now. I think this might have been on Channel 5, but it was definitely on TBS. The Porky as farmer motif was later reused by Larry Harmon when he created the opening credits for the Porky Pig show back in the 60s.
Who's our favorite TV star? Who comes on with a wham? Who's got the laughiest show by far?
The Porky Pig?
Our favorite ham!
Now, notice this same template of Bing versus Frank was reused later in Catch As Cats Can that we did on Collector's Choice Volume 1. Yep. And speaking of Sylvester, we start a long run of cartoons with him on his own as well as with Tweety. First is Life with Feathers from 1945, directed by Friz Freleng and written by Ted Pierce. A lovebird has a spat with his wife and wants to end it all by getting eaten by a cat. He finds Sylvester in an alley and tries to become cat food. But the cat realizes there's something screwy about this.
You're probably poisoned.
Now, this was a new one on this collection. I'm surprised it hadn't been collected anywhere before since it's Sylvester's first appearance. The colors are very nice, so Sylvester at this point was more gray than black. Now, like I said, not only was it not on a previous collection, this one was shown very rarely and really only in the Cartoon Network days. To be honest, I don't even remember it then, but it is in the Boomerang rotation now since it was a January 1st edition. Now, Tweety and Sylvester appear in 1950's Canary Row from Golden Collection Volume 1, done by Freleng and Pierce as well. Granny and Tweety are staying in a hotel, and Sylvester keeps trying to find ways to get in. This is Granny's first appearance, and Jerry Beck pointed out something in the commentary that Friz rarely had Sylvester talk in his cartoons with Tweety until later on. It was actually Bob McKimson that had him do most of his talking with Junior. But speaking of Friz, he decided to get his name mentioned in this tune here in the background. Colors are nice, but a lot of debris on the darker colors. This one was one of the oldest of the network shorts, as are the rest of the Sylvesters after this. 1952's Tree for Two by Friz Freleng and Warren Foster is also one of the new ones on the disc. Bulldog Spike and the Stan Freberg voiced Chester look for a cat to beat up and stumble across Sylvester. But while chasing him, they are unaware there's a black panther that's escaped from the zoo. Spike thinks he's going after the timid Sylvester, but is constantly getting beaten up by the panther, who Chester never sees. This one is crystal clear, and the panther is stunning as it sleeks through the alleys there. I think this one was on ABC occasionally. It was just recently added to the Boomerang rotation. Next up is Sandy Claus from the Academy Awards collection. It was nominated in 1955, so Friz ended up beating himself. And this time, Freleng and Foster get some story help from Art Davis, who moved over to Friz's unit when his director group was disbanded in the early 50s. Granny takes Tweety to the beach, and Sylvester tries to get him before the tide comes in. This one was a Saturday morning staple with the image of Tweety stuck in the cage on the rock. It's pretty memorable as far as these things go. This is another very clean one. Colors are nice but muted. Next up is Dog Pounded from 1954 by Freleng and Foster. This one appeared on the Pepe Le Pew disc owing to his cameo at the end. Tweety's tree is in the middle of a dog pound, and Sylvester makes valiant but unsuccessful attempts to get his adversary. Did Friz insist on clean cells for his Tweeties and Sylvester? These things look great cleaned up. There's very few spots. And as it turns out, this is the closest we get to a Pepe Le Pew short on this disc. Our third Tweety and Sylvester by Freleng and Foster in a row, and second from 1954 is Satan's Waitin' from Golden Collection Volume 6. In his single-minded pursuit of Tweety, Sylvester burns through his 9 lives one after the other, with a bulldog devil waiting for him to finish. The gang must have had a ball coming up with ways to knock off Sylvester. Now, for some reason, I didn't remember the ending with the criminals, but I remember just about the entire other short. Now, I was waiting to see how this one looked when Sylvester got to the unmentionable place, and I was not disappointed. Another terrific looking upgrade for Tweety and Sylvester. Birds Anonymous is from Golden Collection Volume 3, and it's the 1957 Academy Award winner for Best Animated Short by, you know who, Freeling and Foster. This one's about Sylvester's attempts to give up chasing Tweety with the help of a cold turkey organization. Some imaginative visuals and a Mel Blanc tour de force earned this one its statue.
One little bird. Just one. Just one. No one will know the difference. No one. Just one.
But, I just wish they would make a Blu-ray collection of the Tweety and Sylvester tunes already. I mean, these things just look great. This one has a little more cel debris than the others, but still looks very good. On the commentary, Jerry Beck is joined by artist Art Leonardi, who actually started at Warner's the year after this came out. He actually worked on the next 2 shorts. So we go ahead and jump to 1960 and Mouse in Garden from Golden Collection Volume 4. Frizz wrote and directed this one with a little story help from Michael Maltese. Sylvester and his buddy Sam, Dawes Butler channeling Frank Fontaine from the old Jackie Gleason show, they try to get the one mouse that's wandering the docks with them. So when they catch him, since they don't trust each other, they keep him in a bottle hanging underneath the dock. At least the setting is unique. Now, this one has been on Boomerang practically since the disc originally came out. Back then, I noted it was a surprise to get it in upgrade form, but it was certainly worth it. The last Sylvester-related tune is 1961's Pied Piper of Guadeloupe, also from Golden Collection Volume 4, directed by Frizz and Hawley Pratt, and written by John Dunn. Sylvester's tired of being skunked, so he gets a Pied Piper get-up and lures the mice away that way. Only Speedy Gonzales is immune, leaving him to rescue his buddies. The title card started changing drastically at this point, pointing to the way bigger changes later on. By the 60s, even though the studio was shutting down, they still must have been using brand new cells. There's not a scratch on here. The quality of the story and artwork may be a bit below their peak years, but this is as good as they come, just how it looks. Now we go all the way back to 1945 and a Gruesome Twosome from Golden Collection Volume 3, directed by Bob Clampett and written by Warren Foster. This bit of lunacy has cats resembling of Mice and Men's Lenny and Jimmy Durante searching out a little bird for the heart of a girl cat. Guess who the little bird is? This is the 3rd time out for Tweety and still no Sylvester in sight, but we talked about that last episode. This one gets 2 commentary tracks. John Kay does one and Milton Gray does the other. Unfortunately with this one, back to the 40s and the scratchy cells. Colors are nice and bright. Otherwise, shouldn't this have been earlier on the disc? The Roadrunner and Coyote are first represented by 1955's Guided Muscle from Golden Collection Volume 2, Jones and Maltese as usual. The Coyote is cooking tin cans for dinner. He puts an arrow tip on his nose and shoots himself into a cactus that falls off a cliff. He tries using a giant slingshot that doesn't shoot at first but ends up sending him into the ground. Next, he tries a giant cannon that propels him backwards, driving Coyote into the cliff. He sends a wrecking ball at the Roadrunner. It hits a tree and falls onto him. Rolls a wrecking ball down a hill. It loops around the cliff and falls on top of him. He puts grease on the road and can't get away when a truck is coming. Coyote goes to swing across the cliff. Rope is too short. He lowers TNT on a fishing pole. Fire comes up the line and into the box. Coyote gets a tar and feather machine, but the Roadrunner turns the tubes onto the Coyote. He buries explosives in the ground and chases the Roadrunner to explosives, and then just quits. The paintings on these Roadrunner cartoons usually look amazing, and this one is no different. The other Roadrunner Coyote is 1961's Be Prepared, directed by Jones and Maurice Noble, and written by Chuck and John Dunn. This is the only one of the 4 new ones that has appeared in digital form before as a bonus on the Splendor in the Grass DVD. Coyote tries to trip the Roadrunner and has his foot run over by a truck. tries to launch arrow from a high mesa, but falls off and Bo gets caught, pulling the flat mesas down. He puts a hook on a sewer lid. Roadrunner picks up the hole and puts it down on the bridge for a coyote to fall through. Coyote tries rocket bat wings, but the rocket explodes. Coyote puts iron in the birdseed and then straps a magnet to himself as he wears roller skates, gets pulled into a train. Using a spring in the road makes the road land on him. Roadrunner breaks rope tied between two machine guns. Coyote puts it back and gets shot. He puts together a do-it-yourself rocket that blasts off into the sky instead of down a track. Explodes into Coyote Archer Constellation. This one was on just about everywhere. Syndication, network, cable, you name it. 1946 Walky Talky Hawky is from Golden Collection Volume 3, directed by Robert McKimson and written by this go-to guy, Warren Foster. A young chicken hawk realizes he likes chickens and sets about finding one, only to be distracted by Foghorn Leghorn, who makes his first appearance here along with Barnyard Dog. As I've mentioned, when you study his body of work, conflict means McKimson. This cartoon's a little on the dull side, has a dark film over top of it that you can't take out of the drawings without changing the whole look of the cartoon. Michael Barrier and Jerry Beck contribute individual commentaries for this one. Now, speaking of first appearances, Henry Hawk actually made his 4 years earlier in The Squawking Hawk by Chuck Jones. Not only is that not on any collection, I never saw it until it showed up on HBO Max, and now it's gone again. That would actually be a good one for a Collector's Choice Volume 4. These last three are all from the Academy Awards set from about 15 years ago. First up is 1941's Rhapsody and Rivets, directed by Friz Freleng and written by Michael Maltese. A construction crew led by the foreman acting like a conductor builds up a building to the tune of the nearly ubiquitous Liszt's Hungarian Rhapsody No. 2. See Rhapsody Rabbit and the Cat Concerto. We're going to have to unpack that one at some point. This is one of Friz Freleng's masterworks, his own little play on Fantasia. Sure, it's got a blue ribbon title card, but with this much music, it can only be Friz. And there are great gags just all around. Now, this is also an interesting one. The paintings in the background can't be spruced up, so they still like the old way of seeing them. It was made in 1941, but it really looks like a late 30s one, just from the way the figures are drawn. It's very clean. Only saw a couple of bad cells in there somewhere, especially at the end. It's just one of those that isn't going to look spectacular and leap off the screen at you, so just accept it for what it is. I don't think I saw this one until, like, the TBS days. Next is High Note from 1960, directed by Chuck Jones and also written by Michael Maltese. The sheet music to the Blue Danube comes to life with the musical notes creating the musical staff, then searching for a lost note to contribute to the song. Very imaginative work by Chuck and his usual crew, Maurice Noble, Ben Washam, etc., which points to later work like The Dot and the Line. I remember seeing this occasionally, probably on ABC. True, most of this tune is a bunch of black musical notes moving around, but in the moments when other colors appear, they look really nice. Now, interestingly enough, this was nominated for an Oscar, but lost it that year to Gene Deitch's Monroe. Later, Chuck would follow Gene into being the main force behind the Tom and Jerry series over at MGM. Lastly, we have 1961's Nelly's Folly, and she has a lot of fathers. Direction is by Chuck Jones, Abe Levitow, and Maurice Noble, with the story by Chuck and Dave DeTeach. A singing giraffe? This is kind of the flip side of One Froggy Evening. What if the oddity becomes a success and makes everyone rich? This one makes the bold move of having her be the Ingrid Bergman of singing giraffes. Chuck's return to his experimental roots with the backgrounds here looks striking. Again, by the 60s, cell debris really wasn't that much of an issue. To be honest, I don't remember ever seeing this one on TV anywhere. If it was on the networks, it may have been once or twice on ABC, but Honestly, I don't really remember it. Gloria Wood does the singing for Nelly, and the narrator is Ed Prentice, who also did the same role on the Robert Culp Western Trackdown that I really didn't even know existed until I got my car fixed over at Maloof Chevrolet, and it was on MeTV as part of their Saturday morning westerns before they started showing cartoons. Turns out that was also the show that gave the pilot episode to Wanted Dead or Alive with Steve McQueen. Who knew? The behind the tunes for this disc include the one for Daffy, Ridicule is the Burden of Genius, Unsung Maestros, about all those other directors we've mentioned and will continue to point out, Tish Tash, the animated world of Frank Tashlin, going over his varied career from his Warner days to his transition to film and directing such legends as Bob Hope, Jerry Lewis, Jane Mansfield, and Doris Day. And Strictly for the Birds, focusing on just Birds Anonymous. The documentaries here are Mel Blanc, Man of a Thousand Voices, and The Boys from Termite Terrace, a CBS special from 1975. Don't hurt your eyes looking at this one. Oof. Okay, let's take a quick look at the set itself. As you see, very scaled down. We have just the 2 discs and the package. Barely bigger than the Walmart surprise, Walmart $5 bin. And the booklet, it's the same type, but look at how small this is. I mean, I've got my glasses. These are like, I think they're 1.5s, and I'm sitting there, and I still have to get a magnifying glass to try to read this stuff. But so you got your behind the tunes, documentaries. This too, so small, and then this. So, but at least we still got a booklet. And as you can tell, this definitely looked like the end of the line. So Jerry Beck announced in Christmas of 2013 that there would only be the 4 newly remastered cartoons making their debut on the set. I don't get why you pick Honey's Money, or at the time a recently re-released Dog Pounded, over things like Hold the Line Please, Unruly Hair, or even a remastered version of Daffy's first short, Porky's Duck Hunt, which was on his Essential set, just not remastered, which means got cleaned up. So now here we are 10 years later, and the Bugs Bunny ones are taken care of. We already did one. We'll get to the other one soon. As far as why these were picked, Honey's Money is the only Sam. Life with Feathers is the first Sylvester, and Be Prepared was nominated for an Oscar. So these have kind of a distinction about why you pick those over any others. But honestly, I have no idea why Tree for Two was selected over any other Tweety and Sylvester, or something like Claws for Alarm, or even a cleaned up Sylvester Jr. Hippity Hopper short, other than the fact that it looked so good. I mean, it really looked great. So other than the obvious choices, not sure why some cartoons made this set over others. The discs, as you can see, were basically arranged like these are the Bugs Bunnies, these are the Daffy Ducks, And when you had long runs of characters like that, they were basically in chronological order, with the exception of Sandy Claus, which was before the other two from 1954, and of course Gruesome Twosome. They should have done the Bugs and Daffies on disc 1. It actually works out perfectly. There's 18 Bugs and 7 Daffies, and then work through the other characters all over on disc 2. Like I said, Gruesome Twosome, that really annoys me. That's so out of whack where it is. It should have been right either before or after Life with Feathers. It's an early Tweety short, that kind of thing. They have taken care of all the other Oscar winners, so now they're all on Blu-ray. Caveat for so much for so little being in standard definition, but it's on Blu-ray. So the 5 that won, Tweety Pie, For Sentimental Reasons, Speedy Gonzales, Birds Anonymous, and Nighty Night Bugs, they're all on Blu-ray. Now, at the time this came out, I wrote, I hope that in some way the entire Looney Tunes Merry Melodies catalog gets preserved digitally so it's available for customers eventually. Some kind of Warner Archives project seems the likely way to go at the moment, a Tex Avery MGM set, and a Censored 11 disc have long been rumored to possibly show up there. But who knows how long that may last with the company's then recent cutbacks now going way further than just the animation department. Boy, does that seem really prescient, doesn't it? 10 years later, some things don't change. Now, back in 2014, when this set came out, there were Looney Tunes shows on both Cartoon Network and Boomerang. Oddly enough, they were drawing from a different pool of shorts. You'd see one set show up more frequently on one channel than the other. Now, as we watch these in HD on the Blu-ray and then watch the shows, they don't seem to be using them on a consistent basis. I mean, that was 10 years ago, and now it's still the same thing. I clearly saw this on April Fool's Day. There was even one cartoon that they showed that still had the AAP opening on it. That's how old that print was. What's the purpose of going through all this upgrading if you're not going to use it in the one place that you are showing these? We have the situation with the wild hair being added to the Boomerang rotation. Not the restored one that it took so long for them to fix up, but the old Blue Ribbon, reissue copy. As I mentioned, Max had more of the restored ones on there, but like I said, now most of the 30s and 40s are gone for now. But considering the 50s ones were all gone and now mostly back, who knows? Maybe they'll show up again. Okay, now for what I've been teasing since last year. If you're okay with something not being on Blu-ray, but still being redone in HD, and are okay with not having the bonus discs, your best option for getting the 150 tunes on the Platinum collections on the main discs is this. The Best of Warner's 100th Looney Tunes Complete Platinum Collection, Volume 1 through 3. It's on DVD, but you get all the discs in one set for under $20. If you're just interested in watching the tunes, you can't beat this deal. They did have a 50 Best Tunes 2-disc set about 6 or 7 years ago, which has almost all of these tunes included, but around the same price. Then you've also had all the various Spotlight collections over the years that picked apart the Golden collections to give you a slimmed down option. But again, you're either going to be around the same price as this, or maybe a little less, but for nowhere near the volume you're going to get on this set. Hands down, this is your best option. Now, as you've seen over the series, I'm big into, what if? What should they have included on this set? What should have been on here? That kind of thing. We'll be doing a big series of that very soon over the summer. But in this case, as we got the Collector's Choice volumes out and the concept of them being an alternate presentation of a Platinum collection, rose up, thank you, Anthony, I ended up thinking, what if Volume 3, this volume, was more along the lines of the previous two sets? What could this have possibly looked like? The main series stars on Disc 1 and complete-ish collections of characters on Disc 2, plus some one-shots here and there. So I came up with a list with admittedly some fudgets. Let's take a look at what they could have done for Platinum Collection Volume 3. I'm going to put up some screenshots so you guys can see this too. The Bugs section would be like Volume 2, 5 tunes. Elmer's Pet Rabbit, A Corny Concerto, Hillbilly Hare, Bully for Bugs, and Nighty Night Bugs. So 4 from the actual Volume 3, 1 from Collector's Choice. It sort of belongs with the tunes on Volume 2 that chronicle Bugs' evolution. Daffy section would be 4 tunes, all from the actual Volume 3, Plain Daffy, Stupid Cupid, Draftee Daffy, and Nasty Quacks. We'll do 3 for Porky, but only 1 from the actual set. We'll start out with Porky's Pooch, see why in a minute. Porky Pig's Feet, and I'm adding in Wearing in the Grin. This really needed to be on Blu-ray already. It's on to Tweety and Sylvester, first with a Gruesome Twosome, the third Tweety. Then First Sylvester, Life with Feathers. Canary Row for First Granny, and the Oscar-winning Birds Anonymous. Then on to the Runner Coyotes and Foghorn Leghorns. They're from the set. Guided Muscle, Be Prepared, and Walky Talky Hawky. Then I'd add in the first Pepe Le Pew, Adorable Kitty. Dog Pounding really doesn't count. Then the same Speedy, Pied Piper of Guadeloupe. Then I'd add on Don't Give Up the Sheep and Sheep Ahoy on this disc, and with the single one-shot Rhapsody and Rivets. For disc 2, I'd go back to the complete appearances concept. We'd start with all 5 of the Three Bears cartoons, Bugs Bunny and the Three Bears, What's Bruin Bruin, The Bedeviled Bruin, A Bear for Punishment, and Bare Feet. Then we'll do all 5 Charlie Dog shorts, Little Orphan Airedale, Orphan and Orphan, The Awful Orphan, Doggone South, and The Hound for Trouble. This will go along with Porky's Pooch on disc 1, since Little Orphan Airedale is basically a remake of it. I'm also leaving out Dog Tales as just stock footage. Then we do the 5 Ralph Wolf and Sam Sheepdog shorts. But wait, we have the other 2 on disc 1. Why not put those 2 here? Well, remember on those 2, the names are given. They aren't for the Ralph and Sam we know from these shorts. They're for the other opposite characters. The late shift sheepdog is Ralph, and the late shift wolf on the second tune is Sam. So on this disc, we'll do Double or Mutton, Steel Wool, Ready Wool and Able, A Sheep in the Deep, and Woolen Underwear. Following that, we'll do the 5 Bugs Bunny, Wile E. Coyote shorts, Operation Rabbit, To Hair is Human, Rabbit's Feet, Compressed Hair, and Hairbreadth Hurry. Then we do a couple of twofers. First, the 2 Wacky Worms from Collector's Choice Volume 2, Wacky Worm and Greetings Bait. Then we'll do the 2 Bobo cartoons, Hobo Bobo and Gump Batty. For the last short, I'd go with the Hepcat, but I could go for Pigs in a Poke as well. Now, I know Warner's probably wouldn't have done the thing with Ralph and Sam on separate discs and might not have put on Porky's Pooch since it's almost exactly the same short as Little Orphan Airedale. It's a little light on the one-shots. They usually have like 5 or 6. But if they'd had some belief that there would still be some interest in new sets, they might have done something like this instead of the Volume 3 that we got. Now, speaking of Anthony again, on his review of Collector's Choice Volume 3, definitely search that out. It's of interest to see exactly what the cartoons on that set had done to them and some little behind-the-scenes things about that. He mentioned that with the 3 discs, we actually had the equivalent of an old Golden collection, since they all had basically 60 shorts on them, except for the one. We'll document that eventually. So I rethought his idea a bit and conceptualized the 3 Collector's Choice volumes as Platinum Collection Volume 4. So now let's go back, put Volume 3 back in your mind as it actually was, and let's look at those cartoons through a new set of lenses. Disc 1 of our Platinum Collection Volume 4 would go back to the old idea of getting as many main series stars onto the first disc. We're not going to fit all of them because someone's got a lot of cartoons on the first volume. So here's how we could set it up. First, we do the 8 Bugs Bunnies in chronological order: Elmer's Pet Rabbit, The Unruly Hare, Beanstalk Bunny, Rabbit Rampage, Prehysterical Hare, Wet Hare, Hairbreadth Hurry, and Dump Patrol. Then we do the 7 Daffies: Daffy Southern Exposure, Daffy Doodles, Mexican Joyride, Riff Raffy Daffy, His Bitter Half, Quack Quack, and China Jones. Then, since Porky is his frequent co-star, we'll put his 2 solo ones on next: Brother Brat and One Meat Brawl. Now, next would usually be Tweety and Sylvester, and there's 8 of them, but I thought it'd be better to have those at the beginning of disc 2. But if you wanted to put them here, you could. It'd fit. Instead, I'll do the 4 Foghorn Leghorns: A Fractured Leghorn, The Leghorn Blows at Midnight, Plop Goes the Weasel, and Of Rice and Hen. Then we can do a couple of the minor characters. First, we could do the 2 Wacky Worms, the Wacky Worm and Greetings Bait. Then we can finish up with the 2 Charlie Dogs, Little Orphan Airedale and A Hound for Trouble. For disc 2, we'll do the Tweety and Sylvesters, or should I say the Sylvesters, and a few with Tweety. First, we'll do his 4 solo tunes: Catch as Cats Can, Doggone Cats, Stewed for a Mouse and a Mouse Divided. Then the 4 with Tweety: Catty Corner, Tugboat Granny, Greedy for Tweety, and The Rebel Without Claws. Next will be the 4 Roadrunner and Coyotes: Hip Hip Hurry, Hot Rod and Reel, Lickety Splat, and War and Pieces. Then we can do all the Egghead / Elmer shorts: Egghead Rise Again, A Feud There Was, Cinderella Meets Fella, and Amateur Night. Then we'll go a little out of the box. I'll do From Hand to Mouse under the idea that it's a Hubie or Bert related mouse. Then Tale of 2 Mice with Babbitt and Costello. Then Fair and Wormer with the possible Pepe Le Pew cameo. Then Hobo Bobo and 2 Gophers from Texas, followed by the 2 Three Bears, What's Bruin Bruin, and The Bedeviled Bruin. We'll finish up with the proto Sheepdog and Wolf tune, The Sheepish Wolf, followed by the actual one, Sheep Ahoy. Then we'll make what's left a bonus disc of a lot of the one-shots and just do them basically chronologically as listed here. We have the early ones, Honeymoon Hotel and Mr. and Mrs. is the Name. Then the Tex Avery's, I Want to Be a Sailor, I Only Have Eyes for You, The Penguin Parade, and Cross Country Detours. Next we do some Chuck Jones with Ghost Wanted, Saddle Silly, and Finn and Caddy. Next up, well, we'll have some with Frizz Freeling, Ding Dog Daddy, Hop, Skip, and a Chump, and Hiss and Make Up. Then we do Art Frank Tashlin with Behind the Meatball. Then we go back to Chuck Jones with The Eager Beaver and Quentin Quayle. Next, a couple of Art Davis ones with Foxy Duckling and Heck Slick and a Chick. Robert McKimson shows up with There Ought to Be a Law, and we'll end with a couple more Chuck Joneses, Punch Drunk, and The Mouse on 57th Street. I kind of wish there was an easy way to do video playlists like you can do with music. I know they have programs out there, but it involves a lot of work and everything. But frankly, this would make a great video playlist. So that's it for the Platinum Collections. As of now, we've gone over 220 classic era Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies on HD Blu-ray, plus some of the extras like So Much for So Little, the recruitment shorts, and some of the modern material. Now we've got 2 more Blu-ray collections to do. I'll do them a little bit more imaginatively than just doing straight recaps. We'll probably do the Chuck Jones Mouse Chronicles in the fall. I'm not sure if it'll be 1 or 2 episodes. It'll depend on how long we spend on each disc. I'll hold off on announcing our summer plans until next time. And for that next time, I'll probably put it out right around Memorial Day weekend. We'll do the recap I've been teasing for quite a while. Next time, it'll be my own history with Looney Tunes and cartoons in general, where you can find them through the 70s and 80s, how cable added to the experience. And yes, we'll do the Boomerang recap. I'm John Harcher. Thanks for watching.